Hey, have you heard of the 80-20 rule? You know the one where it says that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts? Well, most of us have, but there's something about that rule that is even more impactful in our lives and quite honestly scary if we don't recognize it and harness it in our day-to-day lives, both in our church callings and also in our businesses. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm Mark Sabercrop, and I help men who are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and also business owners to be able to scale and grow their businesses while also balancing the intricacies and sometimes the challenges that come from being a business owner and also living the restored gospel of Jesus Christ. And today I want to talk about that 80-20 rule. You know, we've all heard of it. But the thing is, every single time you or I add a task to our plates, every single time we do something additional, even if it's something tiny, one of those quick tasks, by definition, we're becoming less efficient. By definition, we're doing less, we're applying less in our lives the 80-20 rule. Because, and this is something I learned from Perry Marshall. Perry Marshall is a marketing and sales guru. And I was listening to a training he was doing on productivity and applying the 80-20 rule to productivity. And he made the point that if we do 5 tasks, by definition, those 5 tasks will be more likely to be part of that 20% that gets 80% of the results than if we were doing 10 or 20 tasks. He said that every single time we add a task to our plate, by definition, our tasks get less and less efficient because we're doing the exact opposite of the 80-20 rule. We're doing we're getting into that 80% of activities that only produce 20% of the results, because that's the flip side of the 80-20 is the 20-80. So if 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts, then 20% of your results come from the other 80% of your efforts. So why do I tell you this? Because as a business owner who's also serving in the church, you and I are busy. There's a lot that we're doing. We go straight from doing stuff for our business, whether that's managing employees or providing our service or coaching or consulting or whatever we're doing. We go straight from that to performing our church callings. A lot of times in a rush, whether that's showing up at the church for young men's activities, or it's going to a high council meeting or a bishopric meeting or preparing a lesson for Sunday, whatever our calling is, we go straight from our business to those church responsibilities. And we are busy. And so it's so important that we recognize and realize that the more we do, the less efficient we become. The more we do, the less impactful the things that we do are. I was talking to a friend of mine, Kurt Frankham, who's the founder of Leading Saints, the other day. And he refers to this as the calling monster. And I'd never heard that. And I love it. And basically what he told me was that our callings will take every single minute of our day that we allow them to. And quite honestly, our businesses are the same way. If we allow them to take all of our time, they will take it. There will be no shortage of things to do. I'm sure you've had that experience in your business. There's always something else to do. There's always something else on the to-do list. There's always something else that you need to do, whether that's creating marketing materials or preparing for a client meeting or redoing a sales page or whatever it is. There's always something else to do, and our callings are the same way. If you're a bishop, if you're in a bishopric, if you're a high councilman, there's always something else that you could be doing. And so they'll take as much time as we allow them to take. So if we're not careful and we don't apply this 80-20 rule, and we don't recognize that every single time we do one of those tiny little tasks, we're becoming less efficient, all of a sudden that calling monster or our business can take over our lives, and it can destroy and make that balance really difficult, because it is a difficult balancing act sometimes. There are seasons in our lives where we have to focus a lot on our business. And there's seasons in our lives where we have callings that take a lot of our time. And if we're not careful and we don't apply and recognize that every time we add something to our plate, even if it seems small, by definition, we're becoming less effective. And that takes away from our ability to do what we need to do in other areas of our lives. If that happens in our business, it takes away from our ability to be great husbands and fathers. It takes away from our ability in church to fulfill our callings, to magnify our callings, to do our ministering, to go to the temple, all of those things that are really important to us, and vice versa. Our callings can do the same thing. So today I want to share with you 3 ways that we can make sure that we're not undermining our effectiveness, making sure that we're focusing on applying the 80-20 principle in our tasks and the things that we do in our callings and in our business. So number 1, the first thing is, this is one of my favorite ones, and this is what Zig Ziglar talked about as the day before vacation. And this ties into what Kurt was talking about with our callings, and our business will take as much time as we give them. Zig talks about, I worked with the Ziglar Inc. for a while, Zig's corporation, after he had passed away, but got to meet his son and work with the team and just love what Zig does. But he talks about, if you listen to any of his trainings and tapes and videos, he talks about the day before vacation. And he talks about how, isn't it amazing how the day before you're getting ready to go on vacation, you can be unbelievably productive. You can get so much more done in that day. If you're leaving on vacation on a Saturday, Friday, it is amazing what you can get done. As a matter of fact, as I'm recording this, I'm getting ready to take some time off for the holidays, for Christmas and New Year's. And I know that this Friday, I'm going to get an unbelievable amount done because the next day starts vacation. So Zig says, why can't we just do that all the time? Why can't we be that productive all the time? Well, the thing is, when it's the day before vacation, what do you and I do? We naturally look at our calendar, we look at our tasks, and we say, what is the most important thing we need to get done? What is the most important thing? What is the highest priority? And those are the things we focus on. And when we get to the end of the day, if the things that are left aren't as important, we leave them. And we make the decision of what can wait. We make the decisions of what don't need to be done before vacation. And so we need to apply that same idea each day to our days. If you have a calling, and you say, I have X amount of time for this calling today or this week, and you line out those days and say, this is when I'm focusing on my calling, then you look at what you have to do differently and you prioritize differently. So think about and apply the principle of the day before vacation. That's number 1. Number 2 lines right into that, which is setting and reviewing your priorities. Do you know what your priorities are? In your business, do you know what the number 1, the number 2, the number 3 things that you need to get done today are, or the 3 things that you need to get done this week are? If you don't, you're probably not being as effective and efficient and productive as you can be. And by definition, you won't be doing those 20% of effort, those 20% of tasks that get you the 80% of the results, because you don't know what results you're shooting for. So I would encourage you, number 2, to set and review your priorities. And the same thing applies in your church callings. What is your priority in your church callings? What are the 3 things that you need to get done this week? What are the most important things? What are the things that can't wait? This could be something that your priesthood leader had asked you to do. This could be something that you as a bishopric, or you as a stake presidency, or you as a Sunday school presidency decided are the most important things that you want to focus on. What are those priorities? And when you know what those priorities are, now you can focus on doing the most efficient things. You can apply that day before vacation mentality to get the most important things done. And then it keeps you from doing the things that aren't as important. And the third thing, and this is a big one. I see this as such a struggle for business owners and also for those in church leadership. It's delegation. I've had so many conversations where either the person has identified delegation as one of the most important things they've done, or they've struggled with delegating. And when we don't delegate, by definition, we're doing things that probably aren't in that 20%. We're doing things that aren't as effective because we're not delegating the things that others can do. As a business owner, there are things that are easy for you to do, but you shouldn't be doing. And there's a delicate balance here, because we always hear about the CEOs that, take out the garbage, or they're the last one to leave the office, those types of things. And that's important. It's important to be a leader and to show that you're not above doing those types of things. But Perry Marshall talks about in his book, 80-20 Sales and Marketing, where he's talking about the 80-20 rule. He talks about how if you're doing $10 tasks, then that's taking away from your time to do $100 tasks. Or if you're doing $100 tasks, it's taking away from your time to do $1,000 tasks, dollar an hour tasks. And so if we're focusing too much on doing those things because it's easier for us to do, or we don't trust somebody else to do it, or we haven't properly delegated those things, it's taking away from our time to do the things that only we can do as business owners. And the same thing applies in our callings. If we're doing things that others can do and that we can delegate, then it's taking away from the time we have to do other things. So, for example, I use the example of a bishop often. And the reason is because I was a bishop, and this is where I learned many of these things, or I recognize looking back that I failed at these things. So when I was bishop, I had this amazing counselor, and he was so awesome because he would just tell me, he'd say, Bishop, I don't want to deal with welfare stuff, and I don't want to deal with, repentance things and morality, which he couldn't as a counselor. Those were two things that I was required to do. But he said, because I don't want to do those things, I'm willing to do anything else you need me to do. He made it so easy for me to delegate, because he said, I'll do anything else, Bishop. I understand that those are things you need to do. I'll do anything else you need me to do. And so that was massively helpful for me, because it allowed me to focus the 80% or the 20% of my efforts on the 80%, that will get 80% of the results, which was, having those counseling meetings, with people for welfare, or people that were working through the repentance process that only I could do. But the problem is, as a bishop, sometimes it's really, really easy. And this goes for any calling, whether it's a bishop or a counselor, or a high counselor, or a stake presidency member, or, a Sunday school presidency, a teacher even. If we start doing those things that we could pass on to somebody else, that we could delegate, then we're taking away from the things that we need to do. And we either get out of balance with our church life, or we're just not as effective as we need to be. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a bishop right now, and he was talking about how he had taken upon himself to schedule an interview for a member with the stake presidency. And, balls got dropped and things happened because of it. And I looked at him and I said, why are you doing that? That's why you have a secretary to do those types of things. And so when we don't delegate, we get so overwhelmed that balls get dropped, things get missed, because we're not focusing on the 80-20, because we're not utilizing those around us that can help and support us. And that's true in our business, and it's true in our church responsibilities. We have people around us to support us, and we need to use them. It's not shirking responsibility. It's not that we are trying to make others do things. It really just comes down to the fact that if we want to be as effective as possible, it's important for us to be clear on what those 20% of our efforts are that generate 80% of the results. And that's so vitally important, because like I said at the beginning, if you apply this 80-20 rule in your life, in your professional life, in your calling, you will be much happier, you'll be less stressed, you'll recognize that your calling and your business responsibilities will expand to the amount of time that you give them, which means that if you want to do it in less time, give them less time. It will force you to utilize the 80-20 rule, which will make you more effective, which also means that in that less time, you'll get just as much done, and you'll be just as efficient and just as effective as you would be if you would have taken more time. So my encouragement to you is to apply those three things. Think about the day before vacation idea, the principle of the day before vacation. Think about how you set and review your priorities each day, each week, each month, so that you're doing those most efficient things. And think about ways that you can delegate those things that you don't have to do, so that you can do the things that only you can do. I hope that's helpful. I'm super excited. I would love to hear how you're applying the 80-20 principle in your business and also in your church responsibilities. And if you're interested in being a part of a community of men who are business owners and members of the church, I have a couple spots open for my M3 Mastermind, which is a high-level business mastermind where we get together each week. We talk about the challenges and the things we're focusing on in our business. We get accountability, we get support, we bounce ideas off of each other, and it provides that bridge between our businesses and our faith. It allows us to talk about how the two tie together, how they can help each other and support each other, because I really believe that as a leader in the church, as someone who serves in the church, it makes a massive impact in your business. And I also believe that you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, bring amazing gifts to your church service, gifts that provide massive amounts of blessings for those that you serve. So if you're interested in that, you can go to seavercrop.com/M3 Mastermind and learn more about it, apply, and we can have a conversation and see if it's the right fit for you and it's the right fit for us. And would love to chat with you about that. So again, that's seavercrop.com/M3 Mastermind to learn more about our mastermind group. Have a great day.